Foundations with precast piles are carried out using a specific pile driver with a tower mounted on a caterpillar carriage. A drop hammer slides down the tower to drive the pile into the ground to the design depth. The hammer may be operated through mechanical or hydraulic means. Wearing a hard hat, appropriate working clothes, vest, gloves, safety shoes and eye and ear protection devices is mandatory while working. The work platform must be horizontal and be perfectly stable. It must be properly delimited and signalled. The delimited work area is off-limits to anybody other than the worksite personnel. Different areas will be made available for different tasks and both personnel and machinery traffic areas will be kept free of obstacles. The pile hoisting elements and all the ancillary materials will be checked prior to its use and replaced if they have any defect. It is strictly forbidden to stand in the operating radius of the crane or beneath a suspended pile. The pile will always be guided in place by means of retention cables to a stockpiling area located at least 2 meters from the edge of any slope or excavation. Once the machine has been unloaded from the low-bed lorry, it will be checked to make sure there are no parts or tools that may fall while the mast is hoisted upwards. During assembly, hoisting elements steel cables and pulleys and safety devices such as the emergency stop button and acoustic warnings will be tested. To assemble the elements at any height off the ground, it is mandatory to use the provided lifting platform or ladder with the safety harness anchored to the anti-fall system of the rig. Getting in and off the machine's cabin must be done using the step installed to that effect. Workers must never jump out from the cabin or the caterpillar to the ground. The operator and the assistant must work in coordination when the machine is in motion and must avoid driving the rig through areas that may compromise its stability. Before hoisting the pile, the operator must take it out of the stockpiling area to prevent the assistant from working amongst the piles. It is expressly prohibited to use the pile's handle to lift it before driving it into the ground. A sling chain will be placed securely around the pile instead. During hoisting operations, no one is allowed in the operating radius of the equipment or the pile to prevent impacts from elements or materials that may fall down. Hydraulic braces mounted on the guiding rails must always be used to clamp the pile to be moved to the driving point. The presentation and layout of the pile require perfect coordination between operator and assistant to avoid hands and feet trapping risk. The same precautions will be observed when different sections of the piles are joined together. Before leveling the pile, the assistant will make sure that there are no elements that may fall from height. During the entire driving of the pile, it will be mandatory to wear audio protection both for the rig operator and the assistant. The operator is responsible for the machine and he will not be allowed to leave it while it is running. If the driving process has to be interrupted to change the wooden wedges, the pile will be released by lifting the hammer. During this operation, we must make sure the hammer remains lifted with the appropriate safety devices to ensure it does not fall down. The assistant will remove the wooden wedge wearing goggles and gloves. Before lifting the pile head remover, we will verify that the suspension hooks are perfectly placed and tightened. To function properly, the pile head remover must be guided to the pile slowly, and all of the 4 suspension chains must be used. While cutting the concrete, the assistant will also wear eye protection gear and will stand at a safe distance from the process. The assistant must never put his hand between the pile and the pile head remover. The worker will wear a face shield, a protection apron and gloves to cut the rebar with the oxy-cutting torch, and under no circumstance will stand beneath the pile head remover during the process. The protruding reinforcing bars will be protected with plastic caps. Use the anti-fall system for any operation performed at height off the ground. Do not stand beneath the suspended pile. Do not stand in the operating radius of the machine during hoisting, driving or head removing works. Coordinate the movements when bringing the pile close to the driving point. Wear audio protection gear during the entire process. Never leave the machine when it is operating. Wear face shield, protective apron and gloves when cutting the rebar with the oxy-cutting torch.